Hey there, it's Stuart Downey, and it is a beautiful day. And today I want to talk about leverage and time. Now, when I talk about leverage, what I want you to think about is gaining disproportionate strength. That's what leverage actually means. Now, when we think of that in the context of the time that we have, what I want you to understand is everyone has the same amount of time, and we don't know how much time we have left. As long as we have today, because it is a great day, as long as we have today and it is a great day, we have the same amount of time. And yet there are some people that can squeeze more juice out of the time of today than others. And some would say that, well, they're just better at managing time. And yet you cannot manage something that exists independent of you. You see, time goes on ad infinitum. Time exists, and we exist within time, and time exists independent of us. So we cannot manage nor control time. The only thing that we can manage and control is ourself and how we operate within the time that we are given. So leverage can exist and does exist to help us gain the most out of the time that we actually have. So leverage can exist in activities. Leverage can exist in tasks. Leverage can exist within time itself, as in creating systems and efficiencies that make things take less time. For instance, laundry takes a lot of time. I know that you might be watching this right now and you might have laundry sitting in your washer or sitting in your dryer. Guys, if you have laundry sitting in your washer, please just take everything out of the dryer and move it over, otherwise mold happens and that's bad. We don't want that. So, what activities do you enjoy? You see that segue there? Because I would venture to say that there aren't very many people that actually enjoy laundry. I find it therapeutic. Uh, what activities do you enjoy? What activities do you not enjoy? What parts of your day, when you're in them, do you go, this is it. This is what I long to be doing. Does that exist in your work or in your play? Because they're a part of your job even. That you say, if I could just do this more often, I would enjoy my work more. I would get more done. I would accomplish more, and I'd be happier. Okay, well, if we know that there are those parts of what we do on a day-to-day basis, and we'd like to be able to spend more time doing those, what are we creating in order to put that in place so that we can do it? What tasks do I not enjoy? For me, let's take for instance, when we talk about me being at home, one of the tasks that I really do not enjoy is cutting grass. I did it as a child. I've had there was a time that I really suffered with seasonal allergies, and I'm in the summer heat in South Georgia or Middle Georgia rather, and cutting grass was just not my favorite thing, and yet I did it because my dad asked me to, and I generally as a principal do what my father requests, and so I would do it, and yet what I would think about as I'm pushing a mower across the 2 acres a yard or however much it was, I don't even remember. I would think about the time that I was an adult or would become an adult, and that I purposed in my mind that I would not cut grass. Not because I know that there are certain people that love it. They find it therapy. They think it's great. They just get on their tractor and they put a beverage in the cup holder because now tractors have cup holders apparently, and you can ride around and just have some peace. And that's awesome. And I love that. And if that's your thing, go do it. And for me, it's just something that is taxing and draining, and it's kind of nasty. You get grass clippings all over you, and you got to take a shower. It's not for me. So I purposed in my mind a long time ago. I was like, I'm not going to cut grass. I am going to support small business, and I'm going to have someone cut my grass for me because that's important in my world. So what I did was I found leverage. When I became an adult and I moved into a house that had a yard, I found leverage. I found someone that is completely fine doing that for work, and we negotiated on a fee that they felt was reasonable and I felt was reasonable, and now my grass is cut by someone else. And I love that because when they come, and if it's a Friday afternoon or a Tuesday morning, or I don't care when they get there, it just gets done. And in that time when they show up, I never take that time for granted, because whenever I hear a lawnmower, I think I am supporting someone, number one, because they do this for a business. And number two, they're supporting my ability to have my time spent elsewhere and to not sneeze and cough and hack, because that's what happens when I cut grass. So here's the principle: you can either do something, you can delegate it, or you can just not do it at all. Now, I would be willing to say that you might take that, or it's possible to take that in kind of a bad direction. It's like, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. Well, if it needs to be done, and then this is where you have to exercise some thought. If it needs to be done and you don't do it and it doesn't get done, like that laundry, problems arise. If you don't get that laundry out of your clothes washer, out of the washing machine, it's going to mold. And if it molds bad enough, you're not going to be able to wear those clothes anymore because you're never going to be able to get that smell out. So you can do some things, you can delegate some things, and you can drop some things. But what that does is it gives you the opportunity to exist and make use of your most precious resource, which is time. Time is the most precious resource we have because it is not infinite. Time itself is infinite, but our time is not. And so I want to give you two thoughts on time before we continue to unpack this as a consideration. Number one, if you spend time with someone and you give them your undivided attention, you are telling them that they are the most important thing in your world in that moment. That's truly what giving time is. Now, what I will tell you is if you're giving people time and you're staring at your cell phone the whole time, you're not actually giving them time. In fact, you're doing the opposite of what you may have hoped to do. Instead of telling them that they are the most important thing in your world and giving them all of your undivided attention, when you divide your attention, you divide your time, and you tell them that they are only as important as the lack of an emergency in my world. Because if there's something else that shows up on my phone that brings me interest, then I will take time that I should be giving to you as a person, and I'll take it away and I will put it into that device. What I want you to think about is your device is another human. And in every relationship that you are spending time with another human and your phone is present, you are not present with them. I teach a lot of classes, I coach a lot of agents, and their phone is ever present. Their phone is ever present. I'll be sitting in a coaching conversation, and they have their phone face up on the table, as if something could happen in that moment where I'm seeking to give them everything that I can to help them. And yet, if that phone goes, there might be something more important. And so rather than continuing to invest in themselves, they would rather look for the immediate gratification of whatever notification comes up on that device. Nothing has been made more clear to me than having a child in a world with devices. Because before a child, I was conditioned to have my phone with me and look at it and all that stuff. And now, my son says things like, "Daddy, do you want to play with me?" And I say, "Yeah, of course I do, bud." And yet, what I found myself doing was taking my phone with me to go play with my son. And he'd say, "Daddy, watch this." And I wasn't watching. And that's time I won't get back. I can't go recreate that moment. I can't go recreate that experience that I should have had, that we both should have shared together, that I didn't do. And so I started learning. And as he got older and got more cognizant of what was going on, it's like, "Daddy," whenever he sees my phone, he says, "Daddy, are you working?" Whenever he sees my phone, he says, "Daddy, are you working?" Now, granted, the nature of my business, in real estate sales, you tend to be on call. And yet, I don't have to be on call all the time. And there are moments that I can accept someone leaving me a voicemail while I'm spending time with him. And so I want you to think about time. I want you to think how you spend time. I want you to think about the stealing of time that device. I mean, look, I love the device, right? Because presumably you're on a device watching me right now, and that's how I get to interact with you. And so in certain situations, these devices are good, and yet these devices are divisive when we let them in the way of relationships, when we let them steal the time that we should be giving to other people. Now, if that's the most important thing, if we understand that the presence that we have, what we give of ourselves, the time that we give to other people and how we interact with them and how we actually engage with the relationship, that when you're with someone, that's what you're doing. You're engaging in a relationship, you're nurturing, you're growing, you're strengthening foundations. Okay, what do we do with that? What comes next? What comes next when we really get present in time? Well, then we have to start looking at where are the places in my time, in my activities, in my business, in my personal life that I need leverage. Rousseau said that with enough leverage, a finger could overturn the world, but to support the world, one must have the shoulders of Hercules. meaning that with enough leverage, you can accomplish just about anything. And yet, it takes great strength to keep all of this that we have going and moving forward. So think about in your world. Do a leverage audit. Let's do a leverage audit in your world. What tasks need to be done that you do? What tasks need to be done that you are currently paying someone else to do? Do I have enough leverage to give myself the time to invest in the things that I deem important? Do I have enough time? Do I have enough leverage to invest the time in the things that I deem important? And who is holding up your world? Who holds your world up? Because at some point, when you become a highly leveraged person, when you start understanding that I can use money, support others in their endeavors to do the things that they like to do or endeavor to do with their work and their business, and that allows me to spend more time in mine, whether it's my business or my personal life, whatever bent I seem to be going on when I'm looking and doing this leverage audit. I need to be I need to be constantly auditing what's going on in my world so that I can spend more time. If it's work, then I can spend more time doing the things that make me better at my work and and generate income in my work. And if it's in my personal life and my key relationships, then I'm spending more time there and I'm present in those moments. Because all of this is supposed to be geared for you to build the world that you choose to occupy. All the leverage audit is simply put or simply created or simply done so that you can create and build the world that you choose to occupy. We know that we need money to live because money affords us the opportunity to buy things like food, shelter, housing, and healthcare. We know that. And so every decision you make is either leading you down a path where you can create that world, or you're flying blindly without a purpose or a plan. You see, life is either happening to you or because of you, and you get to choose which one. Life is either happening to you or because of you, and you get to choose which one it is. Because you can live a reactionary life, or you can live a life that says, rather than reacting to whatever comes, I'm going to purposefully move forward. I'm going to look for efficiencies. I'm going to look for opportunities to create leverage in my life so that I can do more with the time that I have. And however much of that time we have, we don't know. It's the great mystery. When do we know, or how could we know when we are out of time? Well, we don't. And so if we don't ever know when we're going to be out of time, then the most important thing that we can do is utilize the time that we have the most efficient way possible to maximize money, to maximize relationships, to maximize opportunities for others, to maximize our ability to give back. That's what we have to do. And so how can we gain leverage on time? How can we gain a disproportionate advantage or a disproportionate strength? Well, here's one. And I say this, and there are two camps of people. They're like, yeah, I can do this. Or there are other people that go, absolutely not. There's no way that's going to happen. Wake up earlier. Wake up earlier. I would venture to say that you go to bed later than you should. I would venture to say that. And that might be because you're up late watching television. You might have an odd work schedule or whatever. I'm speaking in generalities. So if this doesn't apply to you, just, keep going. But I think that most people probably spend a little bit too much time in the evenings watching television. And I get it, entertainment's good. Sometimes you need to click the old brain off and watch something mindless. Like, that's fine. You notice the shirt I'm wearing. Uh, this is my guilty pleasure. I love watching my Georgia Bulldogs on Saturdays when they're playing. Yeah, I enjoy it. And yeah, if I find it difficult to wake up early, it's probably because I'm going to bed too late. And so I could go to bed a little bit earlier, catch the update on SportsCenter the next day, and I could wake up earlier. For me, I constantly try to push myself back and wake up as early as I can because I like to get up and I feed the dogs, I make coffee, and then I just kind of sit and exist in the morning and get myself ready for the day. And I do that because I want to be great and I want to be prepared and I want to be refreshed. And I don't want to get up and start looking and checking emails and responding and getting, back into that groove so quickly. So a couple hours before I go to bed, the phone goes away, and about an hour after I go to bed, or after I get up in the morning, the phone comes back. But I do have and create time in my day that I'm not glued to that device because I know that it's not healthy to be on it all the time. As you audit the leverage in your life, as you start getting purposeful about how you spend your time, what you realize is that the more focused you can get with your time, the more freedom you have to pursue goals. The more focus you get on your time, the more freedom you have. When you live by a calendar, there is freedom there. Because if I know what I need to be doing at all times, if there's nothing specific to that time spot, I have the freedom to do with it what I choose. I have the freedom to give that time to those that I deem worthy, or to those causes that I deem worthy, or to read a book, or to go play golf, or to go fishing, or to come upstairs and get in the Zoom room and record a YouTube video. Because that's what I endeavored to do with my time today. Now, this is living a life on purpose. And purpose begets goals, and goals beget urgency, and urgency begets drive. And when you follow that progression, then you start to get to a place where I become a goal-oriented human, I become a driven human, I begin working in such a manner to achieve great and powerful things because you're created for that, you're built for that, and you are possible in that moment. And yet, I'll land here. If we don't take time to dream about what comes next, then we can't get to purpose, we can't get to goal, we can't get to urgency, and we can't get to drive. I think that at some point we've become too cause to effect, and we get up, we go to work, we come home, we watch TV, we go to bed, and then we wash, rinse, repeat the next day. We get into a routine and a habit, and that routine and habit, while it serves us in the doing, it doesn't serve us in the growing. Your routine and your habit can make you better at what you do, but it's not going to help you grow into who you could become. And so, what I want you to think about after sticking with me for nearly 20 minutes at this point, are there times in your day or in your week that you can go and be alone and think and dream and consider what could come next? Consider the incremental changes that you can make and the impact that that would have on your day. What would it look like if? It's a wonderful question. What would it look like if? What would it look like if I did this? What would it look like if I got up 15 minutes earlier? What would it look like if I, spent more time in church? What would it look like if I spent more time on the golf course? What would it look like if I put my phone down when I was on date night with my significant other? What would it look like if I put my phone down when I was with my children? Because I know that you're in business, and if you're meeting with your boss, you would never have your phone out and be on your phone doing things when your boss is there. So why do we let the phone steal time from the more important relationships? Because there are great bosses out there, but there is no boss that I've ever had that is more important to me than the relationships that I have in my home. And I don't think that that's a bad thing to say. I think that we should all kind of realize that. And yet, we esteem the time with the boss more than the time that we have with the people that we love and cherish. And we esteem that time and we esteem the time by ourselves even less. Because we don't take enough time for us. We don't take enough time to think, to dream, to vision, and to build out a future. Maybe because we're scared about what we could accomplish. Maybe we're scared about not accomplishing the greatest dreams that we have. But I remember when I was a kid, when I was a child, when I was in kindergarten, and somebody asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up, and confidently, with conviction, I said, I'm going to be a Ninja Turtle. And somewhere along the way, somebody told me I couldn't do that, and I believed it. And I hope you're laughing at that. And I was so convinced at 5 years old when I was in kindergarten that I could grow up to become a Ninja Turtle. And you know what? There was probably a way that I could have. I could have at least become a ninja. I might not be able to become a turtle, but I could have become a ninja. Take time to dream. Always be pushing the bounds of what you can conceive, what you can rationalize, because possibility is possible when you seek it. Possibility is possible when you pursue it. and you can achieve what you choose, and you have the time to do it. The question is, are you managing yourself as well as can be done within the time that you are given? I hope that today made you think. I hope that you might take some time to ponder this more. I hope that you watch it again. I hope that you share it with your friends. I really appreciate the time that you have spent with me and investing in listening, and I hope that this creates an opportunity for you in the future. Thanks for the time. Make it a great day.